Hey, welcome back. This is the Jamaica Basketball Project. I'm head coach Rick Turner. Joining me, I would say as always, but as often, is my buddy Rich Mialovich. Richard, nice to see you tonight. You good?
Nice to see you. You could say I'm a frequent visitor.
A frequent visitor. Yeah.
Yes.
And you'll appreciate this story. So I've talked the last couple episodes about one of the goals of this live stream is to talk about Jamaica basketball, past, present, and future. And we definitely have Jamaica basketball future on with us tonight after talking with Warren Williams last time over at Manhattan College. But you'll appreciate this. So I couldn't do it, but I wanted to do it. So I had my guitar, I had my little song. I was going to start this thing with a little my own version of Paul Simon's Mrs. Robinson, and I was going to change it to Marcel Robinson.
Yeah.
But I thought the better of it because this guy's so young, he probably has no idea of Paul Simon and Mrs. Robinson, and I wanted to spare anyone who was watching this from that misery. So without further ado and without a musical introduction, I bring on Mr. Marcel Robinson. How you doing, man? You doing good? You holding up okay? You're in Tampa, Florida.
Yes, sir. I'm holding up pretty fine, man.
Yeah, and it's a little more lax down there than I think it is in some of the states. We talked to I mentioned we talked to Warren Williams at Manhattan College. That's right in the middle of it, and so you guys are a little maybe less in the lockdown phase there in Florida. But I know you'd rather be playing basketball right now.
Yeah, and I am. It's
yeah,
light here.
Yeah, good. You getting some workouts in?
Yeah, every day I'm trying to get in. Official off season starts now.
Yeah.
Well, for us, not really.
Yeah. Cool. Let me tell you a little bit about Marcel Robinson. So I mentioned he's living in Tampa, grew up pretty much in Tampa, went to the University of Tampa, and he is now a professional basketball player playing over in Spain. Does that have a nice ring to you? That must be pretty cool. A pro basketball player playing over in Spain. I know you probably wish it was the NBA, and maybe someday it will be, but that's a pretty heady accomplishment, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. You know, I try to stay humble. You know, I don't want to brag or anything, but, you know, Spain is a pretty good place to play. Coming out of a D2, it's beautiful. I couldn't wish for any better opportunities. I do wish I was in the NBA, though.
Yeah. Someday. Let's talk about, before we get too into it and your Spanish experiences, let's talk about a little bit about the University of Tampa. You had a nice career there. You played for a really good coach he's approaching 700 wins, or did he get there already? Do you know, Coach Smith?
I'm not sure yet.
He's right there. I know he's definitely in the neighborhood of 700 wins if he hasn't got there yet. Talk about what that was like, because you know, you don't have to come out of a high-level D1 program to be a really good basketball player, and you're the proof of that. Talk about what it was like to play at Tampa.
Tampa was hard, man. I liked how Coach Smith coached, because he was a person that was, the more you give, the more you play, the more you'd receive, basically. So he would always see the guys that are in the gym the most, working the hardest, you know. And I had a thing where I would be dressed, ready, taped, and on the court an hour before practice. So when people were coming into practice, I was already going in the second wind. So Coach Smith liked that. And then on the court, he would eventually put me in the game. You know, freshman year started off slow, and then as the years came by, the trust came, and then he let me basically walk out.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Tell me about your game a little bit. I see just from some of the video that I've seen, I see you as a guy that can definitely extend defense and get out and shoot the three, but also see you as a guy that can slash the basket and get to the free throw line. And talk a little bit about in your eyes what you see your game to be.
I always try to be the person that could do it all, you know. And at first when I started, it was more of like, what could I do? And then now as it developed, I wanted to become like a combo guard in terms of I want to be able to post up and I want to be able to use my size inside. And I want to be able to use my quickness to get past guards or even big men on the perimeter. So like I just try to develop my game just taking bits and pieces of other players, basically. Throughout. If there was a guy I played with that was like really good left to right crossover, I'll watch how he does it and then just take it to the game, you know?
Yeah. So growing up, were you always one of the best players, or would you consider yourself a late bloomer, or what was that like before you got to University of Tampa?
So I actually played football. I ran track. I played soccer when I was young, and I didn't know if I wanted to play any of these sports professionally, but freshman year, it was like my dad told me, hey, you're going to have to pick because you work hard, but you can't work hard in all of them, you know? And probably he was wrong. I don't know, because I've seen people do both. But I said, okay, I'm going to go out and try basketball. So one summer I did PAL, the Police Athletic League near me, played pretty good. And I was like, all right, basketball's pretty nice. And then I just made the decision and just stuck with it. So that's how I eventually started. I really started high school as like the first like organized team I played, you know.
Yeah. How was your high school team?
Heritage High over in Palm Bay, Brevard, on the east side of Florida. We were pretty good. School was opened in 2008, so it was pretty new. In fact, I went to a pretty new school. Then I went to University of Tampa, which is a pretty nice school itself. So
I was looking around the internet to try to find some pictures and videos of you, and you know, it's always good to see, you know, a guy rise up and dunk on somebody, you know, this one just, you know, making somebody eat it. But I got to be honest with you, and I'm being 100% honest, but the favorite picture I have of you thus far is this one. You know, I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Like, because a lot of guys are, especially guys that are focused on athletics and focused on basketball, and especially ones that have aspirations of playing at the next level, they don't take the classroom stuff seriously. And
I agree.
You know, you obviously did, and you walk out of Tampa with a degree, so that's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. It was a pretty fun school to go to, but I had to focus. Like party school for sure.
What'd you get? What kind of degree did you get out of there?
Business management and economics.
Oh, nice. Hey, so I was gonna ask you, Rick, if you don't mind. I was looking. So you were 4 years, obviously, at University of Tampa, and I was able to look at your stats, and you had the, which I'd say, you know, back in me and Coach Turner's day, that was kind of a typical, you know, progression. Kind of freshman year, you got a little bit of time, and then by sophomore, junior, and senior, and you kind of your numbers kind of each year went up. How would you, I mean, describe that going in there as a freshman, you know, and you had played 4 years in high school. Describe kind of that transition when you go in your freshman year, and you really had to kind of earn it over the next 4 years, right?
Yeah, I had to work. When I first came in, I was recruited just to play as a slasher, like a 3-4. I would come in, and coach told me I wouldn't play a lot. So I was like, okay, I don't like the sound of that. So first visit, there's people that can tell the story. First visit, I come in, we play open gym. And like I didn't like the fact that he was just gonna think that I was just gonna just be a slasher. So I went 7 for 7, shooting just threes, and then ended the game. And then we just continued playing like that. Coach comes up to me after, he's like, "Wow, you can shoot the ball?" And I said, "Yeah, a little, coach."
Oh, so nice. So you were able to kind of showcase a little bit, like, "Hey, look, I can do some other things." And were you? So how about physically? Were you? Have you developed more? I know a lot of guys when they're, you know, 18, 17, 18 years old, a lot of development comes those next few years. How would you, you know, did you come in as a freshman kind of like a skinny kid and then develop, or how physically were you as you came in as a freshman there?
I think physicality, since I played football and I took those workouts and I just continued with those workouts, and through basketball, I did both because I had friends that played football and they worked out with me.
Okay.
You guys going? With that being said, I was oversized. I wouldn't say I was undersized. Like, so the position they wanted to play at 3, I was be an oversized 3, and a 4, I'd probably fit that position perfectly. So coming into it, it wasn't like I was out of physicality or anything like that. I just had to get in shape, make sure I was in the weight room, and I don't know. I just immediately thought I was up there with like the seniors. So I said, whatever they're doing, I have to do it. I have to do it harder than them because they already at senior level playing. So I have to beat them, you know.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, you played AAU basketball, and I don't know that there's an AAU player I've ever met that doesn't think they're going to play in the NBA, right? So at what point did a paycheck playing basketball become a reality for you? At what point did you think, man, you know, I might be able to continue this beyond college? When did it become real for you?
Junior year. After junior year, I remember because my teammate Austin Reddick, he went over and played in, I want to say it was England. And I also had a teammate, Jordan Davis, who played over England. So I seen teammates that are going from my college. I'm like, okay, of course I could do this. And I just did a simple calculation. I looked at my numbers versus the guys that went. And I was like, well, if I keep this up, I could definitely play. So going into senior year, it was more about let me make sure I'm trying to win games and, you know, bring Tampa to a better, you know, I really wanted a championship before I left. If it was regional, state, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what I was working for. So when the season ended abruptly, like first round, I was like, man, take me overseas. I'm looking for contracts. Let's go.
Well, talk about that process a little bit. So your season ends, and then what? You just start. You get online and you start. You put in basketball agent, and you start looking for guys. Or did you have a friend that had an agent, or how does that work?
So both. What you said there. I was contacted by a guy named Jay Baptiste with Shibumi Sports. And he was following me and Duke Shelton throughout the whole season. And because we played Florida, it was an exhibition game, like first game of the season, something like that. And he followed us throughout the season. And this season, the coach was just like, hey, you have an agent that wants to talk to you. So me being the person I am, I'm like, if someone wants to help me, of course I'm listening to him. So he tells me he can help me. Cool. So he gives me the rundown on everything about going overseas. He helps me out, like go informational wise. And then I actually talked to a friend named Lance, and I was like, hey, do you have any agent? Because he played in Spain. I was like, hey, do you have anybody in Spain that can help me out? So his agent, you know, David Kaplan, I think he's the one that got in contact with you, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yep.
He reaches out to me, and he's like, hey, you're one of Lance's buddies? He told me to talk to you, you know, and I was like, if you have anything, let me know. And lo and behold, he just said, okay, I'll push, I'll help you out. You know, having a Jamaican passport helped a lot.
Yeah, right.
So when he got back to me, he's like, hey, we have a team for you. I was like more than willing. I was like, let's go. Doesn't matter. I'm ready to go now.
Yeah. And the reason that is because some of these teams are restricted as to how many Americans they can have.
Yeah. Overseas is 2 in Spain.
Yeah. So you can have players from other countries, but American players are, you know, a lot of those pro teams are restricted. So yeah, that Jamaican passport pays off for you. Yeah. So you go over to Spain. This is like only a year ago. You're only 2 years out of college, right? Mm-hmm. So talk about that first year over there, and what was that like being away from home? And did you take to it, you know, immediately, or were you homesick, or how did that go?
Well, I'm a person that's been like, I have to adapt to like a lot of situations. So like, going back from high school, just to take it back a little bit, like my parents, my whole family moved 5 times in those 4 years.
Okay.
In college 3 times. So like I always had to adapt. So when I went overseas, it was just like, okay, I'm here. I didn't think much of it, you know. So in terms of missing my family, I miss my mom, obviously, and my parents, my dad, my sister, everybody.
What city? What city were you in?
Logroño. Logroño, Spain is north. I want to say 3 hours north of Madrid, 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And were you playing? Were you? Sorry to interject. Were you playing? Was it? I don't know that much about that league. Were you playing? Are you playing all over Spain, or?
So I was in Lev Silver for both years, but I was on 4 different teams.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
traded in the middle of the year, so that's what I was going to get to. So,
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
oh, this year.
Yeah, go ahead.
Clavijo, the first team I went to. When I first got there, it was pretty nice. I love playing, like practicing there. I didn't realize the elevation was going to be like 2,000 feet or something. I'm coming from Florida, which is 0. So the first week I was out there, all my teammates were like cramping up. One of my friends, Junior Santel, this man was on the floor, like he get taken to the hospital because of the elevation. People don't realize that when you're running, they don't use air conditioning, only heaters in the winter. So we come there during the summers, like, whoa, September, you're like, man. So adapting there was, had to be quick. When the ball getting so slippery, you can't hold on to it. You're like, well, too bad, got to keep playing. I want to say,
hey, Marcel, do people still at halftime go out and smoke and then come back in and there's a little haze of smoke?
Definitely. I have teammates that go out halftime, have a cigarette, and I'm just like, Coach, you don't see this? I'm not going to say anything. Because you don't want to step on any of the national players' toes. That'd be the worst thing you do. So
got to be kind of hard to bounce around, try to find a spot. You've been with 4 different teams in 2 years. You got to adapt to new teammates and new coaches, and that part of it's got to be tough.
Well, I didn't think it was that tough because in the end, when you meet people, you got to know about them the first 2 minutes you talk to them. You get the vibe, you get the feeling. And I just think if you're talking to people and you ask them really like, how are you? And you pay attention, you actually listen. You're not just trying to speak and reply. You actually learn about that person in 5 minutes. Whereas some people are just trying to talk about me, and they'll just never ever get to meet the person in front of them. So when you take that approach, I knew my whole team, but we still talk to this day. They should be watching, I hope.
Did you have one of those moments early on when you showed up and probably in the first couple of days and you were like, I'm playing pro basketball in Spain. I mean, you had a chance to kind of, okay, I'm going over there. But then when you got over there, now you're there. Do you have any stories or like, man, here I am, I'm in Spain, and talk a little bit about that when you first got over there, because that had to be kind of a eye-opening experience. Yeah. And had you ever been to Spain before, or did you know much about?
No, I'd never been to Spain.
Okay. And you know any Spanish?
And now
I mean, you probably knew, yeah, but when you went over there, did you?
Probably 60-70%. Like, I can understand, I can communicate. Like, it was like 20 minutes. I've had to.
Yeah, okay.
None of my coaches spoke English.
So you're okay.
They're coming at you, and I'm just like, got you,
Okay.
When I first landed and when I was first there, I don't know, it was just different things. Just, different than America. Like, if you go to, if 11 o'clock comes, 11, 12 o'clock, depending on what city you're in, and you don't even have water in the house, you're not going to be able to find any. You know what I'm saying? Like, things like that. Like, you're not going to be able to go out and just buy water or anything. As a matter of fact, everything closes down. They have
the siesta, man. The siesta during the day, too, yeah.
2 to 5 o'clock, all businesses closed. You're like, what is going on? The first week, I said, wait, why is there no cars? Why is it so quiet? You go
it's not a bad way to.
I'm like, they're closed already. I'm like, the bank's closed. What's going on?
That's not bad. Hey, it's not a bad. It's not a. There's some good things about the. I've been to Spain a couple times, but I mean that's there's some really cool cultural things. I think I don't mind the siesta so much, but
I love it now. That's like right in between practices, so I take advantage and take my nap too.
Yeah, and what were your, so when you get over there, did they hook you up with like where you live and whatnot?
Yeah, so when I got there, they picked me up from the airport. They brought me straight to my flat. I had a flat with 2 other people.
Okay.
Food, we had food. We like a restaurant that was a 5-minute drive. We had a car as well. So we drove to a restaurant together, would eat, and go to practice all together. Nice. So it was pretty nice,
Yeah, and you're like, I'm here. Let's go. I'm here. Let's go play some ball. I'm ready to go. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just ready to play. I was ready to practice. They wanted to sightsee and things, and I was just like, here to work.
Yeah, like, where's the gym? Let's go play some ball, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've got an online question for you, but and this is I shouldn't say actually, because it's Coach Nelson who always asks good questions, as opposed to me who has to ask the questions of things like, so now when you say gracias, do you have to say gracias because you're in Spain?
Because of the lips.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Yeah. So here's Coach Nelson's question. What was the most humbling experience for you going from college to playing with grown men? And that's a jump, right?
Great question. So I would definitely say when you realize that one day in practice, when you realize that some of these guys are like, even though I want it and I want to play and I want to be the best I can and beat everyone on the court, you look around, you realize that some of these guys are paying for their family and kids. So they're coming at you, So you have this realization that, next time he drives, he might try to kill you to make this layup in practice. And you're like, okay, you have to stand your ground, I'd say.
Yeah. So that reminds me, that takes me to another thing I wanted to ask you about. I have to assume, like most of the country, you're watching The Last Dance on Sunday nights.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We have a whole little watch
party. So that kind of physicality came out in the last couple episodes, talking about the late 80s bad boys teams and then how the Knicks had to try to put Jordan down and get him on the floor and it's a different game. You haven't really experienced that kind of harsh physical basketball, have you, or did you a little bit over there in any?
Over there, I'm pretty sure I can count on my hands how many times I've gotten just rocked, like closed fist rocked, falling on the ground like for a layup, miss it or make it. Look at the ref, and he's just looking at me like,
yeah,
exactly. Deal with it.
Bad.
Well, what's your impressions of the Last Dance, Ben? Have you enjoyed it? Is it a little out of your wheelhouse because you're so young, or are you able to think it's pretty cool?
I think it's pretty cool. Like some of the stuff I haven't seen, and some of the stuff I have from YouTube videos in the past. But Michael Jordan's mentality, just like him matched with Kobe's, like I watch it and just study like what is really going on in these people's minds. The mentality is you just try to build on that.
Yeah. So there's a big WhatsApp chat group. I mean, it's not just that, but it's Jamaican guys, and we'll have to add you to it.
Okay.
But I think probably 80% of the texts that go back and forth are GOAT texts. Is it MJ? Is it LeBron? You've got to weigh in. This won't preclude you from any future Jamaica national functions, but I just got to know where you weigh in on that whole conversation, which seems to be a lively one these days.
So my standpoint on a lot of arguments like this is I'm an unbiased person. I look at players for like who they are. Like LeBron, Kobe, they're completely different. So Michael Jordan, he's in a different time, but in this time he would still probably kill and destroy. You know what I'm saying? But also I can say that there wouldn't be the Kobe Bryant's mentality and LeBron, all these guys without Michael Jordan. Because the way I see it in the grand scheme of things, basketball was played up until Michael Jordan came, and then he just showed everybody basically this is how you play. Goes to play golf and baseball and it's just insane. So there wouldn't be this mentality of just how Kobe says obsessiveness. I think he's getting all this from Michael Jordan because he said he went to Gold Mountain where he talked to all the old pros and this and all the goats of the game where he got all his advice from, and he had to have gone to Jordan as well. They modeled the game the same way, turnaround jumpers,
So would you say Kobe's your guy? Is he your all-time favorite guy?
I'd say Jordan first, but Kobe.
Yeah. Okay.
Who was Jordan's guy? Who did Michael Jordan look up to? Did they cover that in the? I missed yesterday's, but.
Well, I don't know if they covered that, but there was an interesting he did have an interesting comment. When he was young, they were talking about, if you remember, he talked about how he really liked Adidas shoes. Remember that?
Yeah, that's
He was
right.
talking
Yeah, that's
about
right.
whether he would wear Converse, and Converse didn't want to put everything into one guy, and Jordan really wanted to wear the Adidas shoes, and he didn't even want to go meet with Nike.
I said, yeah.
And he had a comment in there, and I caught it because, you know, I worked with him for so many years, but he said he always liked Marcus Johnson, who we always called the other MJ. And Marcel, I don't know if you know, but Marcus Johnson, he's now does the color commentary for the Milwaukee Bucks, but I worked with him at the Seattle Supersonics, but he was a great UCLA player back when John Wooden was the coach, and he played for a long time with the Milwaukee Bucks and was a great player. And I don't know whether MJ thought that was, you know, his guy, if to answer your question, Rich. But it was pretty cool to see him say, I really like Marcus Johnson, and I like Adidas, and so that was cool. After seeing that, it makes me want to work to try to get Marcus on. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, talk a little old school hoop.
Hey, speaking of old school hoops, Marcel. So, you know, I'm up here out of Seattle, Washington, but you know, I'm quite a bit older than you. But we haven't had a basketball team. I mean, do you have any? You probably wouldn't have much recollection, or do you, of the Seattle Supersonics? You would have been, what? That's been 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years ago.
Not much. I know the team.
Yeah, and you know this.
Who was your team?
That's that team that went away.
Were you an Orlando Magic guy? Who was your team growing up?
Growing up, I'd say Heat. You know,
Miami Heat.
Yeah. When I first came to the States, I was in Fort Lauderdale, and I was going to church in Miami, and we would drive around Miami, and I'd see the huge stadium. I'm like, okay, this is nice.
Yeah. And that's probably right in that time of the decision, and the decision, LeBron and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, right? Isn't it around that time? It kind of.
Yeah, even before that, me and my brother just loved D Wade, like the Flash and all that. Just D Wade show. We even pay attention to anybody else in the league. And then when LeBron, Bosh, and everybody came to Miami, we were like, what's going on? You know?
Yeah.
Well, talk about your Jamaica roots a little bit. You were born in Montego Bay and then moved to the States when you were pretty young.
4 or 5 years old.
Yeah. Do you get back to Jamaica much? Do you have family there? Do you stay in touch with people there much, or what's that situation?
Yeah, my dad has like 7 brothers and sisters, and I have a lot of aunts and uncles over in Jamaica. My grandparents are there. We always visit. I go back occasionally. I haven't gone back since probably 2016. You know, and we're supposed to go back this summer, but this whole COVID-19 stuff is going on, the whole pandemic. So I hope it goes down so I can go back and visit. My grandparents, they built their house from scratch. When I go back there, I visit them all the time. They're built a 3rd floor. It's kind of like an Airbnb thing they're going to do over there. So where it has AC, you know how the AC situation is there. So
I need to get that number from you.
Yeah, so, I go back there. Go ahead.
The idea of having the opportunity to play for the Jamaica national team, should that happen for you, when did that kind of become part of your radar, and when did that become something that you thought you might want to pursue or do or find out more about?
Well, for me, like as soon as I got out of college, I was like, I need to talk to them, you know, at least to see what's going on. And I told my agent to reach out to whoever the contact was, and no feedback. And up till now, I haven't had any feedback. And I was just like, what's going on? You know, I didn't know that they didn't have an organized team or anything. My knowledge was limited at the time.
You ever think about playing in the Olympics?
Oh, all the time. I see, like, I have friends that are maybe for their teams, and I'm like, man, I want to play on the world stage too. Like, that would be beautiful. Yeah.
Opportunity to represent your country and just the pride that goes with it. It's pretty cool thing. So, all right. Well, hey, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you doing this. I'll bring Rich back so We lost you there for a second.
I was running out of juice. I had to plug my phone in.
Oh, man.
I mean, just a little preparation is all it takes, you know.
God, I know.
Now you're
yeah.
you're a little closer to the plug-in. That's nice to see.
Yeah, there you go. Is COVID-19?
Marcel, what's next for you, man? Are assuming this thing is over? Do you have a contract yet, or you? If this thing ended tomorrow, would you have a place to go? Do you know what's going on?
Well, the team that I was just at, I can go back and play with them. You know, next season. You know, they thought that the whole FIBA thought that the season was going to come back. So when we left, I was like, you know, there's no way. So next year they have offered me to come back. You know, but I'm looking for obviously more.
Were you at the end of your season, or
we had probably we call it the second phase, where all the games for Ascension, and we're 2 or 3 games in.
Oh, see, okay, and then
in the second, so you know we had a lot of season to play left.
Cool. Well, I'll let you go, buddy. I appreciate you hopping on and doing this, and it's great to meet you and great to talk to you. And we're definitely going to stay in touch, and I will get you information as we move forward as to any workouts and tryouts and all the stuff that concerns putting a competitive basketball team together. And I hope you can be a part of it, and we'll just stay in touch on that. And I wish you luck moving forward, and hopefully the season gets going again here soon, right?
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
And nice to meet you, Marcel. All right.
Meet you guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, Richard. Thanks for doing this again. Another
I thought I was prepared.
Jamaican basketball prospect. Nice to meet these guys and put a face to a name. And for me, a lot of it is only an opportunity to see highlights of guys, and so it's awesome to be able to meet and talk to them and hear about their plans and where they've been and what they want to do, and so that's super cool, and appreciate Marcel coming on, and we're going to continue to do it. As far as I want to talk just for a second before we go about what this is, and I kind of want to just reiterate what we're doing during this. You and I kind of decided we're bored. We want to have something to do. We want to stay busy during the COVID stuff, and so we decided to do this live stream in part because we wanted to just create awareness for Jamaica basketball and the nonprofit that we've put together, the Jamaica Basketball Project. And we're gonna, once this thing is all over, we're gonna be out trying to create some excitement and awareness, and ultimately some funding behind what we're doing to try to make Paris 2024 a reality. And so I guess the thing that we ask you more than anything is to just let people know about it, share it. I'm kind of getting through this social media thing as best that I can. I'm learning it. So this is on the job training. So if anyone out there has ideas on how to help and get the word out, and I hate to sound like an old man, but kind of somehow get this thing viral, I guess. Let us know. I'm open to anything. I think it's gotta move beyond me on Facebook asking my circle of friends to share it. And so hopefully we can do that, and we'll figure out ways to do it, and get more people behind what we're doing, and it'll be a great, fun, exciting experience, and also a historic one, because we've never been to the Olympics, and Jamaica has never been represented with their basketball team in the Olympics, and we're trying to make history.
History for sure. And I think it's been interesting to hear some of the stories, really everybody's stories, because we've talked to some different people, but I mean, you have been on all of them, but some of the players that very well could be part of the program. Unfortunately, we're in this time which there's just so much uncertainty that I mentioned to you, Rick. I reached out to a couple of people that I had started to talk to, and really, trying to get some people involved, really from a grassroots level. When I say people involved, potentially corporations that have an interest in a really, really cool story, which is Jamaica basketball. And when you talk to almost anybody that likes sports or basketball for sure, and you talk about the Olympics, it's pretty exciting. Unfortunately, like I said, during these times right now, they've already delayed the Olympics 1 year. The Tokyo Olympics, so that's 2021. With Paris 2024 now, it's that'll be 3 years away from that. But just the uncertainty now has kind of changed a little bit of the narrative that I think that I was really trying to push. But I will continue, and we hopefully can get some interesting organizations on board. So anyway, That's kind of where I fit in.
Yeah, it's funny because it's in some ways it's a blessing and a curse because, and I'm talking about this whole situation that we're all going through right now, because if we weren't going through it, in all likelihood, we probably wouldn't have carved out the time to be able to do these live streams and be able to meet it's been in the back of my mind in some ways, but you're off one thing onto another thing. Then you got this project and you're onto the next project and you got to work. And this just put everything to a screeching halt. Yeah. And just like jacking up the e-brake on your car and you spin for a minute, and then finally when you're stopped, you're like, okay, now what are we going to do? So we decided to do this, and so while I'd much rather be on a basketball court, teaching and working and trying to figure out ways to compete and reach our goals, this is a great opportunity to introduce people who wouldn't know who we are to say, hey, look at what we're doing, get behind this project and come on for the ride and be a part of the team, because it will be a fun, historic ride if for anyone that wants to be involved, and we want everyone to be involved. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, thanks for jumping on tonight, and Marcel,
keep doing it.
Yeah, and we'll try to put something together probably for Wednesday, and so keep an eye out on YouTube and Facebook, and appreciate everyone that jumps on the live stream, and appreciate everyone that sends in their questions and comments, and also all of you that check us out later too. It's very much appreciated. So thank you, Rich, and we'll see you probably on Wednesday. Later.
Right on. Take care. Bye.